Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Chargers Analytics with Arjun, coming off a nail-biting win against the Cincinnati Bengals, blowing a 24-0 lead, which we're going to talk about eventually. But a nail-biting win, one that we pulled out pretty much in the fourth quarter, and a very important one as well. Now putting us right in the heart of the AFC playoff race, securing the all-important tiebreaker over the Bengals, who are young, kind of dangerous when they're on their game and clicking on all cylinders, which they kind of weren't on Sunday. But yeah, great win. I'm sorry for the lighting if you're watching on YouTube. It is getting very dark here in Michigan very early. So the lighting in my room isn't great, but we'll move on from that. So I think the first thing I want to talk about, and I think we have to talk about, is this Justin Herbert Joe Burrow debate. Okay, so it must have been like 2 hours, 2.5 hours after the game ended. Dan Orlovsky tweeted, tape. Joe Burrow outplayed Justin Herbert by far today. And I was like, what? Like, okay, I don't think there was a single statistic. Like, it could be advanced statistic like EPA, CPOE, like completion percentage over expected, actual completion percentage, completions, passing yards, passing touchdowns, interceptions. There was not one statistic where Joe Burrow was better than Justin Herbert. I'm a proponent of using EPA and like these advanced metrics because they do paint a better picture. But like even if you use basics, like the basic stats, I don't think Joe Burrow had a better day statistically than Herbert. Now, I've said it before, stats don't tell the whole story, right? Obviously, one of Burrow's picks was a really, really bad drop by Jamar Chase, who absolutely toasted Michael Davis. If you have a chance, just go watch Jamar Chase toast Michael Davis. He hit him with a little stutter step to the outside. Davis tried to jam him. Chase was gone. And if he caught that, that's a tutty. And that's 16-7 right there. But he didn't, right? So this is where we're left at. Justin Herbert statistically outplayed Joe Burrow. Now, there was a guy, I think it was like PFF Andrew Russell on Twitter, tweeted out this morning. I'm recording this on Monday. He tweeted out, Joe Burrow has a higher passing grade than Justin Herbert. He has a higher passing grade from a clean pocket than Justin Herbert. He has 4 big time throws, and his receivers dropped 4. His receivers dropped 4 passes, right? Okay. Now, I had some people tag me and message me like, hey, what was like, why did Justin Herbert's grade look so low? Like it was like in the high 60s, right? Well, I'll put it this way. I'm not a grader. Like I don't do the grading immediately after the game. That's not my job at PFF. My job is to, write articles for them, provide content, create graphs, use their database to help, elsewhere. So I'm not sure what goes into grading quarterbacks. If you ask me, I think the grading system has been designed to help conservative quarterbacks because the top of the list is like Tom Brady and Kirk Cousins, and that's not. I mean, like Brady's good. Like I think we can all agree. Like he's as if hate him or love him, he's a top 10 quarterback at least, right? But I mean, Kirk Cousins, like I don't know if he's the second best quarterback in the league now. Is PFF grades the end all be all? No, right? Like they're one aspect to things. So for that guy to tweet out Burrow's grades were higher than Herbert, I don't think that's like, I don't know. If you watch the game, you'd understand that you would see that Justin Herbert had a better game. There were some throws that Herbert made that Burrow probably will never be able to make in his NFL career. I hate to say it, but that's just where we are. Burrow is 2 years older. Burrow is 2 years older than Herbert, and Herbert's still more developed as in terms of his arm strength, even building out his body, right? So I don't get how Dan Orlovsky or PFF Andrew Russell or whoever else says Burrow had a better day on Sunday. And look, I know what the grades say. The grades traditionally have tended to be more predictive of EPA per play than EPA per play themselves. So what that means is if you take like Tom Brady's quarterback passing grade in 2021 and you try to predict his EPA per play in 2022, his quarterback grades will actually do a better job of predicting EPA per play in 2022 than EPA itself. It's weird, I know, but that's why, I haven't completely just, you know, gone full blown like, okay, I don't trust the grades at all, because they have this predictive sense to them. But, I think it's important to put in context. You have to add some advanced statistics in there. The other thing I'm going to talk about before I move on to some of the recaps and previews, the big time throws, right? So I've had some conversations with people in the company, and seeing what they define as a big time throw. They've made it public what they say a big time throw is, and this is the way I'll put it in terms of the game, right? Herbert had one big time throw according to their charters, and it was the Mike Williams 44-yard catch on the first drive of the game, where Herbert threw an absolute dime over the cornerback's head. So that was a big time throw. The Jalen Guyton catch on Jesse Bates was not a big time throw, because it technically was like a 50-50 jump ball. Now, would I have given that a big time throw? Hell yeah, because I don't know if any other quarterback aside from maybe Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes, maybe Matt Stafford on a good day, that can throw a ball 62 yards in the air from the opposite hash, right? And that's the most impressive thing. Like, he threw it across his body from the opposite hash to the end zone, and it was a tie. Like, it was a dime. Like, I don't know what else to say. That should have been a big time throw. The Mike Williams jump ball on Mike Hilton on the right sideline, I believe in the second quarter, that doesn't seem like a big time throw to me. I think that's more of just a jump ball. Mike Williams did create most of the catch. Like, he was responsible for the catch more than Justin Herbert was, in my opinion. But yeah, the Jalen Guyton one, I feel like that should have been a big time throw. I'm not going to go through Joe Burrow's big time throws, but just know that, I am kind of on your guys' side, that I do feel like Herbert's grade should be a little bit higher. And just because he's not being super conservative, like, he's going through his progressions, he's trying to find the intermediate routes. And when you watch Tom Brady or Kirk Cousins, it always seems like, okay, if the defense is playing back, we're just going to check it down to the running back. And that's fine. Like, honestly, like, that play when Brady runs play action and Fournette just runs like a 3-yard hitch right up the middle, like, they always gain 6-7 yards on that. But yeah, that's kind of my take on that. And so let's talk a little bit more about Justin Herbert and how he's done this season. So, I mean, I think he had a pretty good game. I think we can all say on Sunday against the Bengals. So I wanted to really quickly just do a check-in on where he's ranked in terms of EPA. So this is a really cool app I found. It's by Tucker Boynton. You can see up here. You can find him on Tucker Boynton on Twitter, and go through his pin tweet. And he has a bunch of apps like this, which are awesome. So in terms of like all EPA, right? Like, Herbert, he definitely ranks in the top 10. Again, EPA is not the end all be all, because Teddy Bridgewater ranks ahead of Herbert, and so does Kirk Cousins and Jimmy Garoppolo, when we all know that Justin Herbert is better than all of them, right? But I thought this was interesting. So Herbert, in terms of like where his EPA comes from, he actually ranks outside the top 10 in his EPA coming from straight passes, and where he actually makes up a lot of value or a lot of hidden value that people might not think about is his running ability, right? Like, we all wanted Joe Lombardi to get Herbert more involved in the rush game. A lot more zone reads or read options or some bootlegs where Herbert has the option to hit the crosser coming across, or if he could take it himself. And he has a capability of doing that, right? Like, obviously this is a small sample size. That's why Garoppolo and Tannehill and Bridgewater are above Herbert. Herbert ranking sixth on designed rushes is not bad. In terms of scrambles, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. He ranks 8th ahead of Lamar, Heineke, right? Like, guys that you would expect to be like a little bit higher. He is a pretty efficient scrambler when it comes to that, right? Now, I think Herbert, the past the 2 weeks before the Bengals game, so the Broncos and the Steelers, I think he was looking to run a little bit more. Part of that could have been, a good pass rush from the Steelers, even without TJ Watt. And with the Broncos, no Matt Filer. And so you have Senio Kelemete, who was inactive this week. I'm sure Steven was happy about that. But yeah, like, he was looking to scramble a little bit more. I don't mind that. Obviously, I'd rather take a scramble than him throwing like a hospital ball or a dangerous ball that could get picked. And one other thing that I think he's done a really good job of it. One other thing I think he's done a great job in this season has been limiting how detrimental his sacks can be. I think there are times, and don't get me wrong, there are times where he runs a play action, he's looking for the deep shot. And I wish I had a clip to show you. I just, schoolwork's been hitting me hard this week. But he's looking for the deep shot, but the deep shot isn't there because they're taking it away. Like, teams are smart. Like, they're not just going to let Herbert throw a 50-yard bomb every time. And he's outside the pocket, and you have the safety crashing, or you have the outside linebacker crashing on him, and he's looking to plant and turn back the other way, which doesn't make sense to me. Like, I feel like they're just throw it away. Like, just take the 0 yards, because I think it's been twice now that he's tried to plant his feet, go the other way, and he slipped, and it's been like an 8-yard sack. But like I said, overall, ranks in the top 10 in EPA, in the least amount of EPA lost from sacks, which is amazing. That's something you always want from your quarterbacks. It's something we want to see going forward. So let us talk about the Giants. Now, I really don't have much to say other than if we don't win this game, it is not going to be a fun episode to listen to next week. The Giants might be one of the worst run teams in football right now. Like, I don't hate any coach or GM, but I just find it weird how Joe Judge runs his team. He's not when you compare Staley and Judge, I mean, they could not be two more polar opposite coaches. On one hand, you have the data-driven coach in Staley, who gets overly aggressive and he goes for it when the math says you shouldn't. And on the other hand, you have Joe Judge, who doesn't go for it when the math says you should, and he doesn't go for it when the math says you shouldn't, and he just doesn't go for it in general. So I think it's pretty funny what this coaching matchup is going to be. Obviously, I think Joe Judge is still a pretty good or pretty decent, at least, X's and O's coach, but the game management aspect of his head coaching tenure has not been good. And so I think that gives us a slight edge already. Like, if we were two neutral teams with just different coaches, Staley gives us that edge more than Judge does. But one aspect I wanted to touch on, which is why I have the kneel down by my guy Ryan Wiseman on Twitter, Ryan Wiseman 12 on Twitter. I think Patrick Graham, the DC for the Giants, is actually a really good DC, and he doesn't really have the personnel to run what he wants to run. Reminder: he comes from the Brian Flores coaching tree in Miami, which comes from the Belichick tree. So it does seem like he runs a lot of that kind of stuff, but he's implemented his own twist to the way he runs defenses, right? Like, in the Belichick tree, you see a lot of cover 3 and you see a lot of cover 1, but Graham likes to mix it up. He loves to play cover 2 more than the league average, loves to play quarters and 2-man more than the league average as well. So you're not going to see this one singular coverage from Graham game after game. He's going to mix it up. And that's why I think this could potentially be a trap game for the offense. Like I said, if this defense allows, I don't care if Danny Jones is starting. If this defense allows his offense to put up more than like 16 points, we're going to have some serious issues. We're going to have some serious issues. If Jake Fromm is starting, I don't want that offense to even cross midfield in the first half. I'll put it that way. But like I said, this defense is pretty solid. You can, if you're watching on YouTube, you can pause it and you can see the breakdown of how often they run each coverage. If we look at like how good they've been when running each coverage, remember for EPA, if we're looking at defense, you want the EPA bars to be negative. So as you can see, he actually hasn't been that effective running cover 1 and cover 2, but he's been very, very effective running cover 3 and 4. And that's what scares me. I think, like, Patrick Graham, he's going to try and confuse Justin Herbert. Do not be surprised. I repeat, do not be surprised if Graham tries to use some of the similar concepts that Belichick used in the Patriots game, or Flores used in 2020 when the Dolphins played the Chargers in Miami. A lot of those, 6, 7, 8-man fronts on the defensive line alone, just bailing out into cover 3 or bailing out into quarters. And, this is going to be a test for Joe Lombardi and Justin Herbert. I believe that this team will win this game. but to me, it's going to be how dominant will they be against a Giants team that just lost 20-9 versus the Dolphins, right? So, that's pretty much where the Giants are. Another thing I really wanted to touch on is this third down defense has been awful, like awful. If we look at, their defensive third down conversion rate allowed over expected. So it's pretty much saying, given the down and distance, given the time left in the game, the quarter, the Chargers win probability, how often are the Chargers allowing a third down more than the expected rate? And the Chargers have been allowing a third down 8% more than expected. That's awful, right? Like they haven't been letting third downs turn into touchdowns, which is why their second place third down allowed over expected it turns into an 8th third down EPA per play allowed. But like I said, getting off the field on third downs is huge. And we saw that a couple times in the Bengals game where, the defense made a play and they got off the field, gave the ball back to Justin Herbert, but that needs to continue. And it hasn't been there for most of the season. But, I'm confident in Staley that he can turn it around. I really hope Bosa and Jones will be able to come back. When this video goes up, I don't know what their injury status is going to be. But yeah, this defense looked much better against the Bengals, but there's still a lot of room for improvement. I guess I'll end the video with this, kind of talking about the Bengals game. I think the defense played okay. Like when you talk about how you want your defense to be constructed and how you want your defense to play, I don't think relying on takeaways is a stable way for defense to be good. What I mean by that is you look at like Miami, the Dolphins from last year. I mean, they'd have games where I think they had like a takeaway in every single regular season game. I mean, that's great and all, but the thing with turnovers it tends to regress. It regresses back to the mean. And what that means is turnovers are not a product of how well the defense is playing. It's more of a product of how bad the offense is playing, right? If you watched my video last week, I talked about how the two most volatile offenses in the NFL were number 1, the Bengals, and number 2, the Chargers. The Bengals had two turnovers in the first 15, 16 minutes. The Chargers had 2 turnovers in the next 15, 16 minutes. And then Joe Mixon obviously fumbled the game away, and then Burrow had the pick in the end zone, right? So, you gotta kind of understand that turnovers are fluky. So you don't want to be relying on your defensive EPA or your defensive points per game allowed be reliant on taking the ball away, because eventually those things will regress once you play better teams with better offensive lines or better quarterbacks, right? You want to be a team that gets stops. Like that's a more stable way of your EPA not drastically getting worse or, not or at least not regressing, if that makes sense. So with that, I do think it was a great win by the Chargers. The takeaways against Burrow were needed. Sometimes luck is better than skill, as they say. But like I said, great win for the Chargers, puts them right in the hunt. I want to see the Chargers win. I want to see them cover the 10.5 spread. If Danny Jones is playing, it's going to be like 7.5. Good teams win. Great teams cover. Chargers win. If they cover, playoff contenders. That's it, guys. Thank you all for watching. With that, as always, bolts up.